Well, hello, Barry Rassin.
Hello, Michael. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, sir. We are connected through Rotary. It's been my pleasure to not only serve with you, but also serve under your leadership. Thank you for being president of this magnificent international organization a few years back.
It's truly been an honor and a privilege to be a president of an organization with so many good people
Yeah,
around the world. I mean, what we do is make our world a better place every day, and that's exciting.
100%. We'll talk more about Rotary later. I wanted to catch up with you on this new book that you have out. The proper title is complicated, but it's basically the Rassin family story, which turns out has cultural inference in your country. It affected an entire industry in the Bahamas. What is the official title of the book?
It's the Rassin Story
Okay,
of Love, Loss, and Leadership.
okay. So you got a lot of L's going there.
Yes.
And inspired by your father, who you, I think, followed into not only the healthcare industry, but also into Rotary. He was a Rotarian?
No, he was not a Rotarian, and he actually didn't want me spending my Fridays going to lunch at Rotary. So that was an interesting beginning to Rotary.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
that's fine.
but I did want to tell his story, yes.
Very good. Now, this is a healthcare story, and there's a lot of moving parts. Give us a little bit of the backstory of the family, how you got to the islands. Let's go way back before your father. How did all this get started for in the generations before your dad?
Sure. Well, my dad's family is from Latvia, which was Russia back in the day.
Oh,
And he was born in Latvia. And then seeing World War One on the horizon, they basically escaped from Latvia. They were Russian Jews, so they knew there was going to be difficulties. So they
wait,
escaped and moved to
wait, what year?
Scotland.
What years are we talking about here? Pre-World War II?
That was pre-World War One.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, so World War One, then they escaped, got to Scotland. His parents raised him in Scotland. He was
Yeah.
just an infant. And so he ended up at the University of Edinburgh. That's where he got his medical degree, became an orthopedic surgeon, certified as an orthopedic surgeon in Scotland. Meantime, my mother was in England, generations going back. Her family had a place in Ipswich where she grew up, and she became a nurse, an operating room nurse. So here you have a nurse on the one side and a surgeon on the other. And then they both joined the Royal Air Force just before World War II.
They joined it together, knowing that they were both going to serve
No,
together?
not knowing each other,
Okay,
but that's how they met.
okay.
So he's doing surgery, she's the operating room assistant, and he was a challenging surgeon. Those of you who know how surgeons go in the old days, they were kind of rough. So how she stayed with him, I don't know. And they were quite polar opposites. She was this loving, warm Florence Nightingale of the nursing profession, and he was that rough, gruff surgeon who loved to do surgery.
Yeah, you prompted two questions already. One is, when I think of Russian Jews, I automatically default, maybe it's because of my frame of reference. I was born in 1958. I think about the Russian Jew situation, or any Jewish situation, Polish, um, um, prior to World War II. But I never really thought of this before. You could be a Russian Jew, you can be an Italian American way, way before that.
Yep.
The race thing is so strong right now in our culture. I guess it always has been, but I think about it in terms of World War II, maybe because Hitler gets so much oxygen in headlines and stuff. Was it a thing to be a Russian Jew pre-World War One?
Pre-World War One, yes. Yes, that was an issue, and there was definite discrimination, and that's why the family wanted to get out of Russia, basically.
That's why you use the word escape.
Yes,
So they were
yes,
treated badly even back then.
yes, they were.
Wow.
Yep. And
Well, the
when we got to the Bahamas, it continued there.
yeah, yeah.
So when
The
I
second question was, you said your father was a difficult surgeon to it made me think of doctors today that they often are told, or we talk about them. I don't talk about them like this, but a lot of people do. People in the industry do, about the God complex that a surgeon
Mhm.
thinks highly of himself. He can save lives and improve lives, and I suppose that's true to some extent. Are you talking about the God complex when you talk about your dad, or was
Not
he a
so
difficult?
much. I don't think it's so much a God complex as when a surgeon is working in the body, he knows that person's life is in his hands. And it's not so much about that he's a God going to save the life. It's more about I want to make sure everything goes perfectly well and nobody around me should do any mistakes. And if you hand me the wrong instrument, I'm going to throw it back at you.
Yeah.
So it was more like I want to do everything possible for this patient. Nothing can go wrong. And therefore, there's a stress level, I think.
Mm.
And because of that stress level, everybody in the room is a little tense because
So
they
it,
want to do the best.
yeah, exacting standards, perfectionism.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that, of course,
right.
unless you're oppressive about it. Your dad kind of walked that line. Is that what I'm hearing?
He did. He walked that line. Yes, definitely. But and when he was finished the surgery, then he was the happiest I ever saw him. I have that in the book when he walks out of the operating room covered in blood and he's just happy and smiling and laughing. And that was his best moments.
We're going to tell people how to get the book a few times during this interview. You want them at this point to email you at barryjrassin@gmail.com.
Yes, if they would. We've had a little issue, and I'm trying to make it easier for those who have been promised the book and they didn't get it from other sources. So I want to just do it myself directly. And I'm in a reprint stage right now. Sold out the first batch,
Oh,
so
good.
I'm reprinting, and
Congratulations.
I'm going to have some in Florida that I can ship directly from Florida. So getting to anywhere in North America will be very easy.
Excellent. So Barry J. Rassin, everybody, it's two R's in Barry, two S's in Rassin, no punctuation, barryjrassin@gmail.com.
Right.
I want to also ask you in a bit about, this is your first time writing a book, correct?
Yes, it is.
I want to find out about that process a little bit. Give us your father's birth date and the day he died, so we have a frame of reference here.
His birthday was March 13, 1909, and he died on January 13 to 1989,
1989. So he was doing the math here. How old when he died?
79, almost 80.
You said that he had exacting standards as a surgeon. Did he have exacting standards as a father?
Oh, he certainly did. Yes. We came to terms with that many times. He was of the old school where, if you don't behave, then the belt comes off and you get a touch of the belt.
Well, those were the days, today, here in the States, you could have not civil services, but social services called on you. If
Yep.
anybody knows you're hitting your kid, I got hit when I was growing up. I'm not saying I advocate it today, but it was a different time.
Yeah. This is a different time. And I did learn from that. I learned what not to do because I didn't want to get that.
Well, you turned out okay.
Not bad.
So your dad finishes his tour of duty, and he's serving
He
which country at this point?
he was serving the United Kingdom,
Okay.
Royal Air Force. He was posted to the Bahamas to take care of the troops in
Ah,
the Bahamas and Miami. And that's why he was here. And he came in December 1944 and stayed for the year 1945, which
which
was the
is,
last year of World War II.
and eventually settled it in the Bahamas, which is why your family's there now.
And that's a whole nother story of when he was finished with that, he then applied to get a license to come back as a physician, as a surgeon. He was the first surgeon in the country. So he met a number of the celebrities, the politicians, the people in power as patients. And he wouldn't charge anybody in the private sector because he felt he was there to take care of the troops. So he was very careful about that. Um, when he applied to get a license, back in those days, Parliament made the decision as to who got a medical license. So when he applied, you have to remember the times again. at the end of World War II, the Duke of Windsor was our governor. And for those who know their history, the Duke of Windsor was kind of banished from the United Kingdom to be our governor. And he was allegedly a pro-Nazi sympathizer.
Ah,
Therefore, there was an anti-Semitic feeling in this country at that point in time. So when he applied to get the license, he was actually turned down the first time. And according to reading the editorial in the local paper, the Tribune, by Seretti and DePuch, the question was he turned down because he was a Jew? And everybody felt that that was the reason.
yeah.
Having treated some of the politicians and becoming friends with them, who he was friends with his whole life, they brought it back for another determination and finally got his license.
I'm embarrassed I don't know this. How independent are the Bahamas now? Is the parliament still making decisions for you guys?
No, well, when I said parliament, that's the local parliament, the Bahamian parliament.
Oh, okay.
But
So when did the
we
when did the government shift?
we went independent in 1973. So we're still
73.
part of the Commonwealth, but we are an independent country.
Okay, so for the latter part of your dad's career, the Bahamas was independent.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Um, hmm. I was doing the math. You said he was the only surgeon, oh, sorry, the first surgeon in the
First surgeon in the
Bahamas,
country.
which
Yes,
means by default, he was the only surgeon for a period of time.
he was.
How many
And
people lived in the Bahamas during that time?
back then, less than 100,000 in the country. It was a
Still,
very
only one
small,
surgeon to go around. That's plus the armed forces or the
right. So
people in service.
he did whatever the local hospital asked him to do. He was happy to do. Again, he loved doing surgery, so he would do any surgery that he could.
Yes.
And he wrote my mother a letter 4 or 5 times a week for that whole year, 1945,
Oh,
which I never knew about until after my mother died. She had put them away. So I'm in the process of reading all of them. But the history and they're love letters to my mother, which is kind of weird to read, but they incorporate so much history of the country that it's really fascinating. And he talks about the time that he went to Miami to visit the hospital, see some of the troops over there.
yes.
And the hospital he visited gave him this new drug called penicillin that he could bring back home. Was it the first antibiotic in this country? I don't know, but certainly seemed to be.
Wow. Wow. Talk about history. How many siblings do you have, Barry?
I have one brother, older brother, 5 years older.
Okay.
He lives in Galveston, Texas.
And you ended up getting involved with the hospital as a vocation as well?
I did. When I finished undergraduate school with a degree in accounting, I kind of had to make a decision, and forgive me, accountants, but do I sit behind a desk and deal with numbers all the time, or do I do something a little more exciting for me?
Yeah.
And so I decided medicine wasn't going to be my way,
Yeah.
although that was in the family. So I got a master's degree in hospital administration so I could be on the business side of the hospital.
Yeah. You don't have to apologize to accountants. They know what they do all day. We need them. We need them.
Yes, we do need them badly.
What did your brother end up doing for life vocation?
My brother got a PhD in pharmacobiochemistry, and he did research work on breast milk, the benefits of breast milk versus other forms of formulas or carnation milk, which back then a lot of people used. And he showed in his research that carnation milk in those days, perhaps not today, evaporated milk, actually caused a lower growth of brain cells. So breast milk was significantly important. And so he spent his whole career studying, talking about it, promoting, eventually working with formula companies to change their formulas so they could get closer to breast milk. So he did absolutely amazing things to promote the use of breast milk.
I'd never heard that. So he was an early whistleblower on
Yes, he
evaporated
was.
milk?
Yes, he was.
Wowie.
Yeah.
And a PhD. So he was the smart one and you were the good looking one.
That's what I have in the book.
Oh, do you? I look forward to reading it, of course.
Yeah, he went through school so easy and he always great grades. And I'm challenged in school every step of the way.
Yeah.
I was not a good student ever.
Oh,
And it wasn't until I became president of Rotary International that I was told by the speechwriter who interviewed me for 6 hours. She wanted to know who I was so she could write well for me. And at the end of that, she told me, "Do you realize you have a learning disability?"
well, that's not.
No, I
That,
had no idea.
why did she say
Yeah,
that?
because of my problems in school and the getting to know me, she realized it wasn't that I was stupid, and therefore there was a challenge, and my ability to read is part of that challenge.
Interesting. And she was the first one to mention that to you.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, it's possible she's not completely correct on that. You're okay.
Yeah, so I'm okay. I'm fine. I've accomplished a lot in my life, so I don't dwell on that at all.
I'd get a second opinion, as they say in the industry.
She became good friends, so we
I'm sure. I'm
she
sure.
actually is from Israel, and so she's moved back to Israel after that her stint with Rotary. Uh,
Okay.
so we still correspond to this day.
Now, your father has more notoriety, and I say that, I guess it has a negative connotation, but he's known for, that's a positive connotation. He's known for more than just being the first surgeon. He's involved with actually setting up healthcare and a healthcare standard in the Bahamas.
Well, there was a moment in time when he, in the early days, he was working with the government hospital, being the only hospital, doing surgery, and he asked the nurse one day in the middle of the summer, "You got to make it cooler in here. This is too hot to be doing surgery."
Hmm.
The nurse went and opened the window to the operating room. And at that moment in time, he said, "I need to build a hospital that is equipped and is right for making sure that we have the best standards we can for our patients." So he made that decision, and that was in the early 50s. And then in 1955, he opened a hospital, which he called the Rassin Hospital. And it was for his patients. He was a very busy doctor. Because he was the first surgeon there, although he is certified in orthopedic surgery, he did all kind of surgery. He
Right,
took out my tonsils as an example,
right.
took out my brother's appendix. He did a lot of maternity deliveries. He did a little of everything because that's what the population needed at the time.
Yeah.
So when he opened the hospital, he would see about 100 outpatients a day.
Wow.
And that day for him, you don't make appointments, you just walk in, first come, first served.
I'm thinking about how things are today in the medical field, and I don't know a lot because I'm not in the healthcare. But it seems to me that operating rooms are cold these days, right? They want it cold,
Exactly.
which would require in the Bahamas
Yep.
certainly air conditioning.
Yep. Absolutely. And
Why
that
they like
was
it
the
cold
driving.
because it's better for the patient.
It's better for the patients, yes.
Yeah.
And remember, all the staff is gowned up a lot, so they have a lot of clothing on.
Oh, they're extra warm, yeah.
That just adds a more burden in the hot weather.
Another interesting contrast in standards of the day back then and standards today is a surgeon allowed to remove the appendix of a family member today?
No, they are not. It would be considered highly unethical. So,
Why
but
unethical? I see other problems with it, but why unethical?
well, because it's a serious conflict, and for instance, if a husband took out a wife's tonsils, something could go wrong accidentally. I mean, there's too much opportunity for something to happen,
Yeah,
and the stress that could cause the family is just too much. So,
amazing.
and back in the, he kept me in hospital for a week to make sure I was recovering.
Yeah,
Uh, Today, you don't even stay in hospital.
I would think this is one of the benefits for you as an author in putting together, reassembling, if you will, your father's life and the healthcare industry in the Bahamas and looking at how traditions and practices have shifted through the years. uh, a great benefit for you in terms of perspective. I say that because I don't know if you know this. One of my very first projects was a book about my father,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
an audio book, because at the time I wasn't even a speaker. I just wanted to, or I was a speaker. I was not an author. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, I need a couple projects to let people know about me. I want to inspire them about their own mother and father. I'll record my father's letters. To this day, they're not in writing. I have it on my long to-do list that I should publish it as a what we call in the industry a P-book. You know that e-book is electronic, P-book is print. And I still haven't put it in print, but you're inspiring me to do something with it.
You should. I think those stories are important because it really helps with the history. And also, when you talk about what your parents went through to accomplish what they did, you talk about the challenges. And I think that sends a great message to individuals who are reading about it because they appreciate, wow, all those challenges, and yet they still accomplished their goals. And I
Yeah,
think we all need that message today.
well, we didn't have the communication tools, we didn't have the technology, and they were struggling with the same life issues that we do today.
Yeah.
But I also enjoyed learning, as I'm sure you do, about the references back then. Like my father would quote a guy named Will Rogers. I wasn't overly familiar with Will Rogers, but when I read it in my father's letters, I looked him up because I want to know more about this guy that my father revered.
Yeah.
And even the humor back then, my dad was a nice person, but humor was different back then. You told jokes that would never pass muster at a barbecue today.
That's true.
My
Yeah.
father was a good person, but he was of that time, of that society, and that's been a brilliant perspective for me, um, because I'm particularly interested in what's going to happen in the next 20 years. All these social shifts that we go through, we're not done with them just because we're looking at it today. It's a
Yep.
continuum.
Absolutely.
And even our organization, Rotary, which has struggled, as many good qualities as we've had and continue to have, we struggle sometimes with that relevance and staying in step with what's happening in society.
I think that's a big issue we have right now. We
Yeah,
are not attractive to our younger generations, and we need to
right.
find a way to be attractive to them.
Well,
That's
again,
our
looking
future.
back, last generation, our fathers, the fathers before that, Rotary had a different type of appeal. Service had a different type of appeal. For those of you that don't know Rotary, it's for my money, the best service organization, not just in the world today, but of all time. We're doing amazing things. But service back in the day was something that was just the right thing to do. And if you were invited to it, it was the highest compliment you could receive in your vocation.
Yeah.
And today, the vocation part is less important in Rotary. Just the volunteer piece is there now. Just a lot of things have shifted through the years.
That's true. But what I find, I've talked to a lot of our younger members, what we call our Rotaract clubs, which are primarily 18 to 30-year-olds. And traveling around as president, I wanted to talk to as many as I could. And one thing I learned from them is they don't necessarily like the way we do things. They don't have time for long lunches or dinners or breakfasts.
Right.
They don't want to come to a boring meeting. They want some excitement and some fun. But all that being said, they really like the fact that we are doing service and they want to be a part of that.
Yeah,
So I think there's a good potential there. They want to make our world a better place. They just looking for how to do that. And
right.
they don't see how to do it the way we do it. And I
Yeah,
think
well,
that's the challenge for us. We've got to find that new way to do things that will attract them.
yeah, well put. So your dad worked until what age?
He worked right up to he was, I don't know if you know the story, but he was murdered, and he was murdered as he was going into his office to see his patients at 79 years old.
What do we know about that?
Well, that's two chapters in the book. It was the hardest 2 years of my life
Well, I don't want
going
you to do a,
through,
a spoiler alert, but now everyone's intrigued.
yeah.
Was it clearly an act of senseless violence, but was there an agenda
So
to it? Was it random?
there was just two thugs who were there to steal his watch and his wallet and left him on the ground.
In the parking
And
lot?
well, kind of between his car and the front door of his office, which wasn't
Son of
far.
a gun.
Yeah, so they dragged him to the back so nobody would see him. And meantime, he was a creature of habit. He was always on time. He always trained us. If you're not 5 minutes early, you're late,
Right.
and you're going to get in trouble for being late.
Yeah.
So my mother knew how come he hadn't called. That was not like him. So she called me. I happened to be at a Rotary meeting at the time. So she got my assistant at the hospital who got a hold of me. And I came back to look for him. I walk up the street. I see his car and the door open of the car. And then I spotted him lying there. And
Yeah.
there was a medical staff meeting going on at the time. So I asked the security guard who was with me, go get them. So a bunch of doctors came over and they literally picked him up and took him to the intensive care unit, which we had just opened like a month before that.
Which your father had made happen, but vis-a-vis the hospital that he built.
He was a part of it,
He was
absolutely.
taken to his own emergency care.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But he never recovered. He never woke up, unfortunately. 3 days later, he passed away. So it was,
I'm
and
so
then the
sorry.
trials started, and that was a really rough time because there was two young people, a 9-year-old and 11-year-old, who actually watched it happen. In the first trial, they testified that they saw it, and they saw those two people doing it. Told exactly how they did it. But the jury was split because somebody on the jury didn't believe in capital punishment. So that kind of ended that trial, and then there was an appeal, and there were basically 4 different trials to which we attended everything. My mother attended everything. It was a really difficult time for us to get through. In fact, this is the first time I've been able to talk about it without breaking down. And that was what, 40 years later, 40 years later.
I can't imagine. In the trial, you had mentioned the younger people that testified, and it kind of implied that they changed their story or weren't available for testimony in the second trial.
What happened was, as they grew older, they joined that part of society of doing bad things. So the next trial, they suddenly couldn't remember anything. And at the next trial, one of them was locked up already, and the other one couldn't be found anywhere. So basically, they lost their witnesses at that point.
I didn't know that part of the story. Are you following this Charlie Kirk situation in our country?
Yes, I am.
For those of you listening and watching this video years on, Charlie Kirk was a conservative mouthpiece for political causes. He did a lot of work on college campuses, and he was shot recently. In fact, they just had his funeral. The reason I'm bringing this up is his wife publicly. I thought this was odd. Again, things have changed. Back in the day, if your loved one was murdered, you didn't get on a microphone the next day and start talking to people. I remember the media actually having decency to give it a while before they came calling. Maybe wait till after the funeral at least. 2 lousy weeks. Well, now, they thrust that microphone in your face, and these people that are fraught with emotions, they just start talking. They're not themselves, but they still start talking. But this lady, the widow, Kirk, publicly forgave her husband's murderer at the funeral, which was, I don't know, a week, 10 days later.
Yeah. They
Where are you
very
on that?
religious individuals. And I think that they were very religious, and she was very religious, very full of her faith. And
Yes,
that, I think, helps her to do that because my mother also forgave the two people who did that.
but you have issues with that.
I have issues with that. Yes. How can I forgive somebody who killed my dad? I'm sorry. I don't have that ability.
No apology needed, man. You get there when you get there, if you get there. Apology and forgiveness is just a funny thing.
No.
Um, so let's back up just a little bit. Before your father passed, he was starting to receive some recognition, I assume, in some maybe, I don't know what they called it back then, but Lifetime Achievement Awards. He had to enter this like rarefied space where he was a celebrity. He was a founding father, if I can use that phrase. Is that true?
Though that's true, but he was not recognized by the country and not recognized by anybody other than his patients who
Why is
loved him.
that?
Even today, I get people walking up to me and say, "Oh, your dad delivered me," and that's fantastic. But again, I think the gruff personality, willing to say whatever came to mind. So he was never recognized. And that was really why I want to write the book. So Bahamians know who he was and what he contributed to the history of healthcare in this country.
Yeah, get set the record straight.
Yep.
I inherited a bunch of stuff from my parents. I think all of us do. In fact, if you meet people today and they're very funny, you can say to them, "Where did you get your sense of humor? You're wickedly funny." And then right away they say, "My mom or my dad or my Uncle Harry, whoever." You did not inherit your father's gruffness.
No, I think I'm more like my mother, who was the opposite. Uh,
So I think you used the phrase earlier, maybe not with respect to your father, but you learned what not to do. Did you learn
yes.
to not be gruff because of your father?
No, I think it was just my genes, my personality was a softer personality, more like my mother's personality.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, I I I had my dad on a pedestal, and I really wanted to be like him, but I'm not. I'm like my mother. There was even a point, I talk about this in the book. I remember one time as a kid, I noticed the scar on his lip, which I don't even know how he got it. And I thought, why don't I have a scar on my lip? And that's
Oh,
how much I wanted to be like
because
him.
I'm my father's son, I should have a
Yeah,
scar on my lip too.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, it's Barry Rassin, everybody. The book is The Rassin Story. It's available at Barry's website, barryjrassin at gmail.com. Let's talk about Rotary. Your father was not a Rotarian. He had his hands full, and my dad wasn't either. My dad would have made a great Rotarian, but he was busy working overtime at Ford Motor Company. He was playing trumpet on the weekends in a dance band. He had four kids that were born 15 months apart. It's hard to find time for service if you have that kind of thing going on in your life. You made a different decision. How were you called into service? What happened?
Well, I was at a Rotary horse show, seeing my two daughters ride their horses, and I'm the only one sitting on the bleachers watching this. And there was a group of men over here in the corner selling hot dogs and hamburgers, mostly drinking the beer they had because I'm the only one there to buy anything. And one of them came over to me and say, "You're Barry Rassin. You're starting this new hospital. Why don't you come to lunch with me at Rotary?" And going back a little, in my last hospital when I was in Hollywood, Florida, I ran a doctor's hospital of Hollywood. A doctor asked me to join Rotary. I was in my 20s. Everybody in the club was in their 70s.
Yeah.
I couldn't make that work. But here it was a much different balance. It was younger, it was more my age, so I could relate really well. So, and I said to myself, although I'm an introvert, I need to meet these people because these are the folks who really run the business side of this country. And I need to know who they are and they need to know what I'm doing with this new business. So I agreed to go to lunch and became a Rotarian. And my first speech ever was at that Rotary Club when they asked me to do my job talk. At Rotary, we always ask the new member to stand up for 5 minutes and tell about yourself. Except they said, "Oh, you're starting a new business, so you got 20 minutes. You're the program." I'd never done that in my life. So scared to death, wrote out my speech. And I'll never forget at the end of it, this fellow, our club has about 150 members, so it's a big group. And the fellow in the back stood up. He had a question. "What's your question?" "Well, I want to know why your dad fired my mother." Huh? I
Wow.
had no idea what he was all about. So that was kind of my introduction, and my club kept asking me to speak, which is really why I can be a speaker today because of
Interesting.
Rotary, not
Yeah, yeah.
because of my master's degree, not because of the hospital experience, but Rotary is a great learning experience, and I'm grateful for that.
I'm thinking back to your comment about young people and staying relevant and what can we do to do a better job with that. I think one of the things that shifted through the years is back in your father's day, my father's day, Rotary was available, and you didn't have to sell it. There just weren't as many things to do. I think today we have to sell it a little bit. And there's no shame in that. And what we need to sell is the opportunity to become a better speaker, the opportunity to have doors open for you. Back then, I think people signed up for service, this is way before you and me, just because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
maybe
you're
they need
absolutely right.
another couple of excuses now, another couple of reasons to do that. I also think that they need a couple more asks because, to your point, you were asked the first time and you said, no, thank you, it's not for me.
Yep.
I mean, thank God somebody asked you again later on.
Yep. No, it's really important that especially young people appreciate that they can develop their leadership skills through Rotary.
Yeah,
We have an amazing website that has a learning resource center, has every module you can imagine to develop your own personal leadership skills.
yeah,
Why not be a member? And we brought Toastmasters together with us. Everybody knows Toastmasters for their ability to teach you how to speak. They're really now an integral part of us. So um, we have that ability, and we just don't market it like we should.
that Toastmasters initiative was your idea or it came to fruition under
It was
your
my idea
leadership here, yeah?
talking with the past president who wanted to make it happen, and he couldn't.
Uh,
So I took it to the next level. We made it happen.
Good for you. Well, you are an amazing person. I wish you the best of luck with book sales and congratulations on somehow becoming closer with your father even after he's passed away.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity, and I enjoyed our conversation.
My pleasure. Barry J. Rassin at gmail.com if you want to order the book. Um, just to save them a few and you a few back and forths when they actually put in for the order. Uh, and I realize everyone that prices change over time and shipping changes, but in general, what do they expect for the book?
It's
Is it
$36 to include shipping.
okay, 36 and well worth it. I'm sure there's a lot of research in it and it's a great story.
One thing you learn as a new author is you don't make money from writing one book.
You know,
If I
I
could ever break even, I'd be ecstatic.
I serve as a book shepherd for a lot of people and one of the things I tell them is, it doesn't matter if you have a literary agent or a speakers bureau or, a book publishing company. You have to sell your own book. No one's going to do it for you.
Yep.
But let's talk more about making the book available to Rotarians because I have some ideas to share with you offline.
I know there's people in Australia, Canada, and Nigeria who've said, I want the book and I can't get it.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure everybody has access to the book.
Welcome to international commerce.
Yes.
Hey, great catching up with you. I hope we see you at an event soon. And by the way, the redhead says hello.
Oh, good. Say hello to her for me.
Thank you. See you later.
Take care. Bye.